Hey guys, Ogre Barbarian here from the ODDsmen. And recently on the Reddit, I actually asked people for opinions on what they would want to see content-wise. I got some good responses. Um, and DP and I actually had created something a long time ago that I forgot about. We had created the ODDsmen account for DCL. And it's been going for a little while now. We haven't really done a whole lot with it. Looks like DP's kind of been logging in daily, just collecting gems and shards and whatnot. Like, we haven't done a whole lot. Our roster isn't too huge. We're only like level 36. But I figured this was a good spot to start up and actually do some DCL content. So I wanted to just go over things with you guys as a new player, what to expect. Because obviously there's a lot of characters in this game, and they continue to add more and more new characters all the time. So, two a month. This month we got the Red Hood that you saw right there, and then Penguin, and they also reworked Bane and Joker, Clown Prince of Crime. Um, First thing I want to go over with you guys is the shop. Now, every month you're going to see the 8,000 gems for 100 hero fragments. That's always there. It's the new hero. It's the paywall character. And then you're going to get other deals like the Poison Ivy and the Green Lantern Hal Jordan that are going to pop up as well. Now, generally speaking, these are not a very good use of gems all that often. Um, However, today, because of the Poison Ivy pack, I am going to be actually picking her up because getting two characters that are both very good, especially Poison Ivy right now, especially with the band rework, she pairs really nicely with him, and Wonder Woman being very good herself as well. So we're going to pick a few packs because, I mean, honestly, as an SPP, it's one of those things that you're not necessarily going to have access to every character. So when a character comes along and you really like the character, don't be ashamed to pick up the shards. It's definitely something that you want to weigh your options, though. So, I mean, when you're thinking about how you do things in the game, you want to look at the value to you as the player, not necessarily the value to the whole community, because in the end, you're playing this game for fun. So when you pick up a pack like this, you just want to think, okay, is this somebody that I want to use? Is it one of my favorite characters from the comics or movies or something? Is it a character that I'm going to be interested in playing as? And I think, that's really the essential part of it. Now, obviously, before you do purchase a pack, you do want to go check your resources. You want to look at Reddit. You want to look at YouTube and figure out, okay, are these packs actually worth it in the end? Because sometimes they're just flat out not worth it at all. But sometimes they're going to be really good. So it really comes down to you as a player, what you want out of the game. And I know me personally, I love Poison Ivy. She's one of my favorite characters. And the pack right now for her is really good, actually, because you get the bonus Wonder Woman shards. And just in general, she's an all-around good character that can translate late into the game for us. So it's definitely not a bad pick to pick up her shards. So I went ahead and picked her up. Got her up to L4. Still haven't decided if I want to get her higher. I might. I might not. But the main draw for me right now is this Pheromone Kiss, because eventually I want to unlock Bane, and with his rework be able to use him as the main shield for my team. Now, another thing that Ivy can do is obviously she can taunt up anybody, so that's always a plus. But she can also, transfer buffs around, which is nice. So, and you want to be careful when you're upgrading your characters early on, because you don't necessarily have all the resources you need. So you do want to be careful and consider all your options. Like, I just used the couple of willpower that I have, and I'm upgrading her gear right now. But it's only because I really want to use the character. Now, the Wonder Woman, I'll probably gear her up and do some stuff with her later on, but she wasn't the primary goal. So, right now I'm just trying to get Ivy up to gear 2, where I pretty much have everybody right now. And as you saw, I got him up to level 30 because that's pretty much where everybody on the roster is right now. You want to have some balance on your characters. Obviously, we started when Enchantress Month was going, so we do have a few shards of Enchantress here. We also have some Mara from PvP rewards. Right now is a really good time because Zatanna, actually, is the clear reward for PvP. And early on in PvP, you're going to fight a lot of these bots. And these are literally there for new players to fight so that they don't have to fight real people that are incredibly difficult. So you're going to get a lot of experience just playing with your characters at that point. Now, something you want to consider is who's going to be your good leader. Obviously, you're not going to have a leadership ability until you get to 5 stars or 4 stars in the case of Survival Support Suit Lex. But you do want to consider, okay, who am I going to run? And right now, I think Hal Jordan and Ivy work really well. Hal Jordan can be the tank for the team with his shields, and then we have Ivy to give him that taunt. We can put in Zatanna to, help him out and keep him healed. And then looking at my opposing team here, they have 3 green, 3 energy characters. So I'm going to go ahead and slap in Mara also. Just, again, to keep Hal Jordan healed and hopefully wreck through the enemy team a little bit. So, obviously, I'm way powerful compared to the opponents here, but as you progress, you'll start fighting real people. So, you do want to take the opportunity while you're fighting the bots to go ahead and clear your PvP boards, though, so that you can get as many of those free fragments as possible. So, alright, so first thing we're going to do, shield Hal, because his abilities are much better when he's shielded. And we're going to go ahead and strip the speed up off of Flash, do some damage. Go ahead and have Mara mend him, have Ivy taunt him. And that'll be our shield for the rest of the team here as well, because that taunt lasts for 2 turns. Already got stunned. Not a big deal. And then we're just going to have the rest of the team kind of beat up on these guys a little bit, so... I don't know why I did that. That was the wrong move. Oh well. Yeah, and that's another thing. You'll learn your characters the longer you play with them, so don't be worried about it too early. The more you play with them, the better you'll get with them. Here we go. Let's transfer those men's around a little bit. Alright, so now everybody's got some men. Let's get past some of the shield. Go ahead and use Zatanna heal everybody. Keep everybody healthy. And Zatanna early on is one of your better characters, just because she does do that AoE heal. It's a very strong heal. So you're going to get a lot of mileage out of her kit. She also is one of your primary characters with purge of enemy buffs. So that's definitely something that you want to keep going. And you always want to prioritize who you're taking down in PvP. You want to focus on one enemy at a time if you can. And you want to prioritize, okay, who's the most dangerous? And you'll learn, how to do that the longer you play. You'll learn that, oh, okay, well, I need to take out this Castaway Green Arrow before I take out Hal Jordan, because Hal Jordan doesn't really do much damage. Whereas the Castaway Green Arrow can be very annoying. And you'll also learn when to use your heals and when to use your other abilities, taunts and whatnot. So, just keep beating them down, and eventually they'll fall. Early on, PvP is very slow, but it does pick up as you expand your roster and as you get better characters. So. Now, another thing you want to do, you want to collect the Essence Collectors as you can, because it does give you that essence. You do, however, want to go in here and look at the characters. Okay, we have seven Cheetah shards. Let's see if we can unlock Cheetah. Alright, so we haven't even tried this mode yet, so let's go ahead and see what we can do. Alright, so we've got 6 physicals, 5 mysticals. Go ahead and... no, that doesn't sound right. Stop it. Go with Zatanna. Let's put that Jordan in the lead. Take on the dead shot. Your dead shot you get early on is very strong compared to the rest of your characters, so it's definitely worthwhile to put him on your team. His snipe ability is very powerful, especially early on. He does quite a bit of damage. So you do want to utilize him when you can. So you just one shot, so that's always a plus. Zatanna early on is going to be one of your really good characters just because of her heals. You know, and her just being able to protect the team is really powerful. Hal Jordan's basic attack can also spread out some shields, so it's another way to protect your team. So they're both very, very good early on. So, it looks like we're pretty powerful. We might have over-leveled a little bit, but you know, that's what happens when you don't play for a while. So, just keep beating them down, and like I said, do the same thing as you do in PvP. You want to focus down the enemies that you think are the most threatening. That you don't have to deal with them anymore, and there's less damage on the field. It allows you time to set up your defenses and your heals and whatever else, just so that you can protect everybody that way. Alright, so that wasn't too hard. But now that we've beaten it, we have 3 stars. We got a Cheetah shard. We can try to unlock Cheetah here. Hopefully we'll get lucky. And we'll unlock her with our next couple of tries. Cheetah early on is not the greatest character. I mean, she's good versus bosses because of her bleed, but she's not super amazing until she gets to legendary levels. Whereas somebody like Hal Jordan, you want to just farm the ever-loving heck out of him, because early on, this guy is absolute gold. Same with Zatanna. You want to farm them early on as often as possible. Same with Green Arrow and Bane. They're both very, very strong. Cyber Hunters are very, very strong. SSS Lex is, he's really good. He's not necessarily the strongest character you're going to come across early on, but he is pretty good. He does give you that alternate healer if you don't have access. Like I just bought the Ivy pack, so I have another healer there. We have the Mara. So we have healers on our team, but if you don't have an early, SS Lex is definitely a worthwhile chase. He's definitely a character that you can get behind, because he speeds up the team, heals them, and does a lot of things overall that you really want to be able to do. And one of the things I want to cover here is that, like I showed you with PvP, red alerts early on, you're going to get these bot teams that are going to be 2 stars, they're going to have certain characters, so they're not going to be too terribly hard. And this is a great source of fragments, essence, and gems. So you really do want to capitalize on this as much as possible. you want to go ahead and just get in there as much as you can. I think again we're just going to go with Hal, take Zatanna, take Mara, take Ivy, just because it's more about survival in this mode than it is in PvP or PvE. PvE a little more survival, but in this mode you definitely want to be able to survive as long as possible. So we're going to taunt Hal, we're going to have the girls keep everybody healthy, and we're going to just have Hal use his shield constantly, and then slowly plunk away at the enemy, because we don't necessarily need to take them out quickly, but we do need to be able to take them down eventually. So, alright, not the worst. Missed our taunt because I got enraged. Don't need to heal yet, so go ahead and take down the Sinestro. Early on, Sinestro hits really hard. That does change eventually, but early on, if you want to use him, please, by all means, go ahead if he's one of your favorite characters, whatever. He's definitely a worthwhile pick, especially early on. He's very good. So we're going to go ahead and try to focus down this Star Sapphire a little bit. Because another thing you want to do is early on you want to focus down their healers so that they can't keep the enemy in the fight. The longer you survive, the better, but the longer they survive is the worse off for you. So you do want to take out that healer as soon as possible if you can. You want to get as tanky as possible, so you can survive the entirety of red alerts. They are very long fights, but it will pay off in the end when you're, able to clear all of it and get all those shards. Because there's a lot of shards. You got a 15 character, you got a 7 character, and you got a 3 character. And these are just free shards that you can pick up daily. So it's definitely worthwhile if you can clear them all and get all the shards. So having free shards is always a plus, because shards aren't the easiest thing to come by in the campaign mode. So getting these free extras are always, a good thing. And if you do have the opportunity to pick up Ivy right now, she is very, very good. And does, good work, especially early on because of her kit. She is the epitome of a support character. She doesn't do a ton of damage. She does have some speed down, but she doesn't do a ton of damage. So you'll be able to focus on what you want as you play. Now, obviously, not everybody's going to have the Mara, not everybody's going to have the Ivy. So early on, you're going to want Hal, you're going to want Zatanna, you're going to want to run your Deadshot. And then after that, you're probably looking at Flash, Sinestro, or Emerald Earth Green Arrow, or Cape Crusader Batman as your primary characters to utilize for these. And again, these are all bot teams, and they change with every one. So you want to look through them and be like, oh, okay, well that one's entirely physical. Do I want to necessarily bring in 3 Mystics? No, probably not. You want to look, okay, which team can I beat easily? And be like, okay, well, that one doesn't look too bad. I'm going to go ahead and fight that one. So I'm actually going to switch it up a little bit. Let's go ahead and take Enchantress and Dr. Fate, because, again, survivability is very key to this mode. So you definitely want to bring your Zatanna, you definitely want to bring your Hal Jordan, because those offer you the most survivability right out the gate. As soon as you get SS Lex, he's definitely one that you want to bring in, because he's going to be able to help heal your team, supplementing Zatanna. Just to give you a little bit more survivability when it heals down. So if you do have the opportunity to pick up somebody like Dr. Fate, take that opportunity, because having these extra shields or overheals or whatever it is you get, it's definitely worth it in the end if you can pick up some good characters that way. See, and I didn't focus on the Zatanna first, so I got punished by letting her heal the Huntress. But I think it was more important to take down this Huntress since I'm running 2 Mystics. You know, and I think just having her run wild is not really where I want to be at. So, even though I have all this protection, it's still a good idea to focus down the heavy damage dealer. So, and again, you just want to focus on one character at a time. Alright, so now that she's done, I'll take out the Zatanna. Hal is definitely protected at this point with his almost complete overheal and large chunk of shields. So, and this is something that you definitely want early on. You want characters who can keep themselves in the fight or keep the rest of the team in the fight. You don't necessarily want to build only that, but you definitely want a team that'll survive. Because a team that'll survive will get you more shards. And more shards is always nice. So. Kind of rambling, but that's what happens. Let's down the cyborg a little bit. Because Hal Jordan, he's just going to sit there and shield, use his hammer occasionally, so he's not a super threat. So, and you'll get to this point where, okay, everybody else is dead. And now, this is your opportunity to heal up the team, to make sure your abilities are off of cooldowns by just using your basic attacks. Shield up. You know, you just want to get as much value out of this last character as possible so that you go into the next fight as ready as you can. Let's go ahead and overheal again, just because, you know, more is better. Alright, camera's off cooldown. That's good, that's what we want. And you essentially just want to beat up the last person with basic attacks if you can, so that you can go into the next fight with your moves off of cooldown and ready to roll into the next fight. And just keep going, doing the same thing over and over, and eventually you will clear the entirety of Red Alert, gaining all these essence, shards, and gems. So, and eventually that'll increase your roster even further, you know, and you definitely want to do that because that's a very quick, easy way to upgrade your team. And you want to make sure that you complete all your missions for the day. And I'm going to just blast through these last 2, hopefully. Alright, so upgrade challenges. Here's another thing that you get access to fairly early. It's fairly difficult early on, but you do want to take the time to try and complete everything you can. Because the higher you get, the better off you are. Alright, so can't use those 2, which is fine. We'll take Cyborg, and this is the team that you would normally be able to use. So it's not terribly hard to get. It is going to be a tough fight, but let's see if we can get through it with these low-level characters, because once you gain access to the Hope material, the Hope Ring, you get a lot of power out of that through your abilities. And it's definitely something that you want to take the time to try and do, is complete level 2 as soon as possible. Preferably on 3 stars so that you can, you know, speed force it later on. Alright. And like I said, same concept, you know, PvP, PvE, upgrade events, red alerts. You pretty much just want to focus down a single character if you can, so that you can get less damage on the table, because the less damage is on the table, the less threatening the opponent is. And you want to save your big moves, like Hal's Hammer and Cyborg's Cannon, for bosses, if you can. If you know there's a boss coming. So, like, I could have used them there in that first wave. Would have been fine. But here in the second wave, especially when you're down to 1 or 2 enemies, you don't want to use those big explosive attacks on little peon enemies. You want to be able to have those ready for the boss when he shows up. You want to make sure that you, in this second wave before the boss, you want to make sure that you take as much time to power up your guys as possible. You know, have everybody healed as possible. So, like right here, this next move that Zatanna is going to do is going to be to heal the team, just because we're getting low, and I'm probably going to need it during the boss fight. So, I want to use it now that she has time to cool down, and everybody's healed enough to where, hopefully, they won't die here in the boss fight. So. And as you gain power, this gets a lot easier. So. Oh, she was enraged. Alright, so there goes him. Alright, boss fight. Now, this is my tactic. I'm going to try and stun the boss, and I'm going to try and take out his minions. Now, this isn't necessarily what you want to do. You probably just want to focus on the boss as much as possible. Just try to stun him and get him down as quick as possible. But I want to get damage off the table because I don't think Sinestro is going to kill anybody per se. I mean, he could, but I'm not anticipating what he's going to do. Yeah, hit him with the big moves, do as much damage as you can. Emerald Archer is really good early on because of those agility downs. And Cyborg because of that cannon right there. So you can definitely wipe out bosses real quick with Cyborg. I do recommend you get him, at least, you know, unlock him, and that way you have access to the cannon. Because that cannon is a game changer against bosses. Alright, so we cleared that. And now, I'm pretty sure we're not going to be able to go through the third node, just because we were pretty much even on power level with the second node. So we're just going to go ahead and speed force through this real quick. Collect our rings. And you always want to do at least the second node once you have it. You never want to go back to the first node. Because I will tell you a secret. Early on, it might seem like you need 1,000,000 willpower, but you will eventually get a lot more willpower than you do hope power. So you want to be able to have access to that as you progress through the game, because you will need more hope energy the longer you go, and it's harder to get. So if you're lacking on hope or willpower energy, you can always just go to the node 1 chapter, or node 4 chapter 1, and you actually have the chance to get it right there just by speed forcing. And this is true for every chapter. The final node, you can always get willpower extra from the final node of normal mode. It does not give it to you on heroic mode, but it is something that you want to take into consideration as you're farming those rings, because you do have access to the willpower in normal campaigns, so you want to get the hope power as much as you can. And you definitely want to, like I said, pick your characters that you think you're absolutely going to need. Now, early on, Hal Jordan, like I said, he is a beast. He is also one of the leaders in the game that is pretty much unshakable as far as PvP. He's always been around, he's always been there, he's never really gone away. He's fluctuated, yes, but he's always just been steady. I'm a good leader. So getting him to 5 stars early on is something that you do want to do just to have access to his leadership ability. Because as you progress through the game, his leadership is very good. Having your entire team start with a shield is very good, and again, in red alerts, shields are invaluable because you do gain access to, not access, you don't gain access, you gain, they carry over throughout the battles, so the more battles you do, if you had shields left over, you continue to get continue to get more shields. So it's definitely something that you want to do. That's not true for PvP, obviously, because it only carries that one fight. But Red Alerts is your survival mode, so it's something that you want to consider doing. Alright, so we're just going to take this team, same team that I was using before, and we're going to go into this fight. Because these are your free-to-play options. These are probably your best options early on. Until you get more familiar with the game, it's definitely the team that you want to consider using, at least for beginner mode. Haldroid is your tank. Emerald Archer is DPS. Cyborg is DPS. And Zatanna is your healer. So, and you always want to use Cyborg's first shot as his basic. Just because you want to make sure that you have access to his cannon immediately after. So, we're going to go ahead and shoot Death Whip with the cannon, just to show you the amount of damage it can do. So, and that's why you want it, is because once you've upgraded his gear a little bit, and you've upgraded the skill a little bit, you can essentially one-shot any character with that cannon. And that goes true for bosses too. He'll cut him in half in that one shot. You know, it's definitely a powerful move if you use him right. And all it takes is one of his basic attacks, followed by the charge cannon. As long as you use the basic attack before you use the cannon, it will hit. If you don't, well, you got a 30% chance to hit, so try to use it wisely. You know, and as you notice, I didn't even use Howl's Hammer at all, because I didn't think I needed it. So, these PvP fights, again, they will get harder. So, now, something else that I kind of want to cover is, you want to join an alliance early on, if you can. And if you can't join one, just make one. Oh, you will also level up very quickly. That's something else I forgot to mention. You will level up incredibly quickly in the early parts of the game, so don't worry too much about running out of energy early on. And make sure you collect, the fragments and stuff, different things, because you can get a lot of good rewards out of these epic missions. And the reason that the epic missions are good is because it gives you access to things that you wouldn't normally have. Like Legendary Essence, a bunch of Speed Force, a bunch of gems. You get some extra hope power, willpower. It's definitely things that you want to complete as often as you can. Especially early on, because you're gaining that energy bonus. It refills your energy every time you level up. So you want to take advantage of all of that as often as possible. So, just go in here and spend our energy real quick. Alright. Just some more coal later. Alright, so let's don't have SS Lex unlocked yet. Let's see if we can get Purple Shard to him. Nope. Alright. How about Zatanna? Alright. Huntress, Cyborg. Let's get Bane. I don't think we have Bane unlocked yet. He's really good right now. Alright, so another thing I do actually want to go over briefly. I'm sorry. The game, in heroic mode, you'll gain access to characters in the order that you need them by priority. So, as you gain Bane, as you gain Emerald Archer, as you gain Cyborg and Huntress, you definitely want to try to unlock them at least, so that you can play with them and experience what the character can do, so that you know what you want to do later on. Again, same with Harley, same with Cheetah. You definitely want to go with these single node characters to at least unlock them, and that'll be characters like Wonder Woman, Princess Themyscira right here. once you get to her node, you want to spend some time and get her unlocked, just so that you can experience what the character can bring. Because a lot of the one-node characters are very, very good. So, especially Wonder Woman, Princess Mascara, Solomon Grundy, and Flash. Those would be your first three single-node characters. But this is the reason you want to join an alliance early on. So you have access to these fragments and special equipment and different things. You don't always want to buy everything there, but you do want to have access to it, because there's some characters that are available here that are literally not available anywhere else. So you do want to get into an alliance, or at least found your own alliance, just to kind of gather those shards, because some of them are you can't get anywhere else. And same with PvP. You want to compete in PvP as often as you can, so that you can try to unlock some of these characters. Some of these characters are really, really hard to come by, or impossible to get elsewhere. And sometimes they're going to be a character that you can get in PvE. But you definitely want to take your time, get as much as you can out of the game, where you can. So, I don't think we've got 3,900 gold. I think I am going to buy some more ivy. And this is just me knowing what I want later on in the game. And there's unfortunately I'm out of stock on the pack, but I did at least get enough to upgrade Wonder Woman again. So, not enough to upgrade Ivy, but we can get Wonder Woman up to 3 stars. Gain access to, or no, she already had access, but a little bit more power. So, alright. And I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover early on. As a free-to-play player, don't worry about your gems early on, spending on character credits. You don't need to. But again, if a character pops up that you really want, don't hesitate, because the game is for fun. These are your choices. It's not the end of the world if you choose a character that you really love and they turn out to be not the greatest character, not the end-all be-all. Because it doesn't matter. As long as you have fun with the game. So, now, as a free-to-play player, again, characters that I recommend early use, you got Deadshot. He's going to be very good for you for a long time. He's available in red alerts. Cyborg, he's very good. Great boss killer. He's available in PvP right now packs and campaign mode. Zatanna is currently the PvP clear bonus. So if you clear all 10 of your fights, you get 5 shards of her. That's a great way to farm her as well. She's also really good because she's your main healer for pretty much the majority of the game. Hal Jordan, great leader eventually. I highly recommend picking up as much of his fragments as you can, as often as you can, until you get him to that 5-star rank, at least. And that way you understand, and that way you'll have a leadership ability that'll help your team be a little bit more survival-oriented. It'll help you with red alerts, it'll help you with PvP, it'll help you with PvE. He's just an all-around good character. Flash, you get access to him early. You won't actually be able to farm him until Chapter 4, the end of Chapter 4. But he's definitely a character that once you start obtaining shards for him, if you're gonna farm him, just farm the ever-loving heck out of him. Farm him every day, do it religiously, and eventually he will pay off. His legendary upgrades are very, very good. Especially in PvE, where he can build up. Sinestro Yellow Lantern. He's a character that early on is really, really powerful with his basic attacks, and his AoE. His basic attacks hit really, really hard early on. Eventually, he does fall off a little bit, but I have seen some dangerous Sinestros in PvP. It's been a while, but Emerald Archer Green Arrow is a character that you definitely would get behind. The main draw for him, actually, is his quick draw. you want to get this agility down. That's really where you want to be at. You really want that second agility down. At that point, he becomes a really good DPS. Then you have Batman. Batman's a really good DPS as well, just because if he's invisible and you have his grapple kick, he's really good damage there against bosses. His Vigilante Strike's not bad. So if I were to say pick 5 or 6 characters that you want to focus on, I'm going to say Hal Jordan, primarily, first and foremost. Secondly, you're going to want Zatanna. Third, you're going to want to farm Emerald Archer Green Arrow. Fourth, you're going to want to farm Cyborg. Those are going to be your primary 4 that are going to carry you through campaign mode until you unlock a bunch more characters, until you start figuring out what you want to do. I do highly recommend that you unlock Cheetah. She's going to help you clear the Mystic event. Same thing with Bane. You're going to want to unlock him early, just because he's a really, really good tank. Especially with his rework, he gets really, really good. You're going to want to unlock Wonder Woman, Princess of Themyscira. You're going to want to unlock Survival Support Suit Lex. You're going to want to have access to these characters for later on. Now, the earlier you get them, the better. Harley Quinn turns out to be amazing later on. Solomon Grundy, he's really slow, but he's really beastly when he gets upgraded. So you want to pay attention to how the characters are presented to you in game. If they're in campaign mode, you definitely want to at least experiment with them, unlock them, play with them a little bit so that you understand their strengths and weaknesses, and it'll help you expand your roster. Again, if they're in the Alliance packs, you're going to want to look at them, okay, who's available here? Alright, so I have Superman. There's a lot of people who love Superman. It's a great way to try and unlock him, speed him up a little bit if you can get into Alliance, and then farm him that way. And then PvP packs. If you get lucky and you can unlock some of these characters, there's some really good ones here. World's Greatest Detective Batman, Warsuit Lex, Castaway Green Arrow, Doomsday, Deathstroke obviously has been ruling the meta for a long time, but these are characters that are going to help you in the long run, so you definitely want to take the time to try and unlock them if you can, and the more you have, the better off you're going to be. So, with that, I'm going to end this video because it's getting quite long. So, as always, enjoy and grind on.